Hi, kindergartners. We're going to start talking today about how to recall the important events in a story. When you're reading a book, it's not enough just to read the book and get to the end and put it away. We need to think about the story, and we need to be able to tell other people what was important about the story. So, I've got a very important tool to show you today. So everybody go like this. You doing it? All right. Everyone's got one of these. It's called five-finger retell. We're going to use our hand and we're going to retell the events in a story just using our hand as a tool. So here, let's try it out. First finger is our characters. Characters is the who is in the story. Who is it? Is it a boy? Is it a girl? Is it a grown-up? Is it a kid? Who is in our story? That tells us characters. Setting. Our setting finger tells us, where does the story take place? Is it in the city? Is it in the woods? Is it in a house? Is it maybe at your school? Where does the story take place? Setting. Problem. What's the problem in the story? What happens? And how do they figure that out? What happens in the story that makes it interesting? That's problem. Ring finger. That tells us events, and that just means what happens in the story. What are the things that happen in the story? Sometimes we use the words first, then, next, last to describe the events in our story. And last, solution. How was that problem fixed? Or was it even fixed? That tells us the solution of the story. So now let's put this five-finger retell into action. Let's start with a story I think you all know called Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So let's think back to our five-finger retell and think, what was our first finger? Characters. Who are the characters in the story Goldilocks and the Three Bears? I'll give you a hint. It's Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So we've got Goldilocks and the Three Bears as our first finger on our five-finger retell. Anybody remember the next finger? Where does the story take place? It's our setting. In Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the setting is the Three Bears' cottage in the woods. That's where the story takes place. Our next finger tells us, what's the problem here? What happens? In Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the problem is the bears go for a walk and Goldilocks goes into their house uninvited. That's a problem. Our next finger on our retelling hand is, what are the events? What happens in the story? Well, we all know Goldilocks eats all the porridge. She sits in Baby Bear's chair and breaks it, and she sleeps in Baby Bear's bed and stays asleep for a long time. So that is the events, or what happens in our story. Our last finger in our retelling hand is, how do they solve the problem? What's the solution? How do they fix it? Well, in our story here, the Three Bears come home and they scare Goldilocks. She wakes up and she runs away and never comes back again. So that's a good way to show you how to use the five-finger retell to retell the events in a story that you just read. So for your homework tonight, I'd really like you to go to your bookshelf at your house. With Mom and Dad's permission, pick out your favorite book that you have. Take a look at it with Mom and Dad and go through the five-finger retell. If it's okay with them, you can bring your book to school tomorrow and you can do a five-finger retell share with your book buddy during sharing time. So everybody go like this. Give me a high five for your five-finger retell. Good job.